I'm back out in the woods again, and it's funny because every time I walk down this path lately, it feels like I'm starting a new chapter. Rice diet, diet break, now wherever this next thing is. And it's weird because I'm not coming out here today from a place of panic or, oh my God, I've ruined everything. I'm coming out here from a place of, all right, that worked. The break is over. What's the next smart move? And today, that next step just happens to be the potato diet, or really the start of my next high carb, low fat phase. So just to rewind a bit, I spent 3 months on the rice diet, high carb, super low fat, low protein, and the food choices were really limited. And for me, coming off years of animal-based eating and all the noise that came with that, it was exactly what I needed. It was simple and repetitive, and it took food off this big pedestal that I had it on for so long. The simplicity was the whole magic. I didn't have to make decisions. I didn't have to pretend I was a chef. I wasn't living on variety. I wasn't chasing flavour, and I wasn't trying to optimise anything. I was just eating rice, lentils, some orange juice and getting on with my life. And the thing is, it actually worked. My weight started moving, my energy felt more stable, and my head got quieter around food. That was my first real taste of what whole food, plant-based eating could actually feel like when you stop overcomplicating it. But when those 3 months were up, I knew that I needed a break. Not a blowout or some big rebound, just to step out of that full-on discipline mode. Because one thing I learned about myself is that I can be extremely disciplined until I'm not. And usually when things fall apart, it's because I never gave myself any room to breathe. So this time I tried doing it differently. I went abroad and I let things loosen up a bit. I let my meals be less strict. I let life feel like normal again instead of overly controlled. And that little break taught me something pretty clear. I don't function well in the middle. I don't do well with a bit of structure, a bit of freedom. That grey area is where I drift, and drifting is really sneaky because it doesn't look dramatic. It just looks like I'll get back on track tomorrow, over and over until half a year disappears. So that brought me to the real question. What's the next phase that actually fits where I'm at right now? Something that supports my weight loss journey without overwhelming me. When it came to figure out what I was doing next, I didn't just pick something at random. I had plenty of time to think it through and actually look at what made sense for me right now. Raw till 4 was the first idea. Eat all raw, low-fat plant foods until 4 p.m. and then have a cooked dinner at night. And look, I love the idea. In theory, light, clean, refreshing, but I'm not in that place at the moment. I'm not mentally prepared to live on fruit-heavy meals all morning and afternoon while my stomach tries to work out what year it is. It's not off the table forever, just not right now. Then I thought about Mary's Mini, picking one starch and one vegetable and sticking to that. You know, that's very whole food, plant-based, very low fat, very structured. And part of me liked it because I do very well with structure. But I still think there's too many little decisions, too much room for me to tweak things, overthink it or get clever. And usually that's where things start to fall apart for me. I know I needed something even simpler, something I don't need to negotiate with, something where I can just look at the plan and instantly know what I'm supposed to be doing. And that's where the potato diet came back into the picture. It's been in my mind for years, literally years. I've always been drawn to it because of how brutally simple it is. No fancy meals, no special timings, no big variety to think about, no mental gymnastics. It's literally just potatoes, a clean, high-carb, low-fat base that I don't have to overthink. And if the rice diet taught me anything, it's that I thrive on boring food. Not because I'm trying to punish myself, but because when the food is simple, it stops triggering that whole addictive loop that I've had around eating most of my life. When meals stop being a source of excitement, you stop obsessing over them. And when you're not obsessing over food all day, you finally have the headspace to focus on your actual life. But I also have to talk about the last time I tried this because, wow, it was a disaster. Back then, I came basically from low fibre eating, carnivore, keto, then animal-based. Maybe 10 grams of fibre a day if the wind was blowing in the right direction. Then suddenly I threw myself into a high starch, high fibre way of eating. And within what felt like minutes, I was up to 60 or 70 grams of fibre. You know, there was no build-up, no transition, nothing gradual. I just went straight into the deep end. My gut had absolutely no idea what was happening. It wasn't like a little bit of gas or a bit of adjustment. It was like, what are you doing? Why are you doing it? Please stop. And at the time, I blamed the diet. I genuinely thought that I just couldn't handle potatoes. And on top of that, because clearly I like to overdo things, I went straight into eating 7 or 8 pounds of potatoes a day. Day one. No ramp up. Just like, yep, this sounds reasonable. It was that old thinking that more is better, more is safer, and more means that I won't feel hungry. And of course, it backfired. Now, so that attempt didn't last long, not because the idea was terrible, but because I tried to go from zero to extreme overnight. This time is different for a few really important reasons. First, for the last couple of months, I've been eating a lot more fibre and sticking to a high starch way of eating. So my digestion is finally in a place where it can handle actual plant food without threatening to leave the country. Second, I didn't just jump into this blindly. Before committing to the potato diet, I gave myself a few little test days where I ate a lot more potatoes just to see how things felt. And nothing happened. There was no disaster, no regret, or no never again. So everything was completely normal, which was a huge relief considering how bad it went last time. And the third big change is the amount. Instead of doing the ridiculous 8 pounds of potatoes on day one stunt, I'm starting with 4 pounds. You know, a normal amount, something reasonable. It works out to around 1,500 calories, enough to support steady weight loss without pushing me into a panic zone where my brain thinks I'm starving. One thing that makes this whole thing really easy is that here in the UK they sell potatoes in standard 2 kilogram bags, which is basically just over 4 pounds, so the simplicity starts right at the shop. I just grab a bag, peel them, throw everything into the Ninja Foodie, pressure cook it, and that's the day sorted. And look, I'm not trying to make it sound exciting because it's not, but that's exactly the point. My food doesn't have to entertain me, it just needs to support what I'm trying to do. I'm also obviously not planning to eat only one potato forever. I'll mix in different varieties over time, you know, white potatoes, red potatoes, of course sweet potatoes here and there. I just want to see how each one feels in terms of fullness, energy and digestion. It's all really simple, but it gives me enough flexibility that I won't lose my mind eating the exact same thing every single day. Now, compared to the rice diet, potatoes make a lot of sense as the next step, especially for plant-based weight loss. Rice was amazing for the reset. It got me away from animal products and helped me strip things back to basics. But when you look at the actual nutrition side by side, potatoes are just more nutrient dense in a lot of ways. More vitamins, more minerals, still high carb, still very low fat, still in that whole starch-based whole food world. So it feels like I'm just keeping everything that worked, the high carb, low fat structure, the simplicity and the same routine, but moving to a food that can support me even better over the long term. I'm not looking at this as some 3-day potato hack. I'm looking at it as the same way I approach the rice diet, something that I can actually stick to for months, not just a few days. Right now I'm thinking of this as a 3-month thing, and if I feel good on it, if my weight keeps moving and if my energy stays steady, then I've got no issues running it even longer. I also need to mention Dr. John McDougall, because he's a big part of why I even feel comfortable doing something like this. His whole starch solution approach, building your diet around simple starches like potatoes, rice, oats, corn, gave me a way of thinking about food that actually makes sense in my head. It took food from being this complicated emotional thing and made it practical again. And that's had a huge impact on me. For me, it's not about chasing superfoods or stressing over protein numbers or building my day around the next exciting meal. It's more like pick a starch, keep it low fat, keep it whole food and repeat. That level of simplicity is honestly the only reason I've been able to stay consistent over these last few months. And part of this is me purposely making food a bit boring. I don't want every meal to feel like an event. I don't want that big dopamine hit every time I eat, because that used to run my whole life. I'd be constantly thinking about food, planning the next thing. With the rice diet, that calmed down a lot, and with potatoes, I'm trying to keep that same calm, predictable, slightly dull, in a good way, rhythm going. So today isn't about results, and it's not about what I've eaten. It's literally just the starting point. Me saying, all right, this is the path that I'm choosing now. And I actually feel pretty grounded about it. Not hyped, not nervous, just ready in a very normal, steady way. Between the rice diet, the failed potato attempt, and the last couple of months of slowly rebuilding my fibre tolerance, I finally feel like I'm walking into this with the right foundation instead of forcing it. My plan is to give this at least 3 months, the same way I approached the rice diet, and then I see where I'm at. If things are moving well, I'll carry on. If something needs adjusting, I'll deal with it when I get there. What matters to me is that this isn't some sort of quick reset or some little experiment. It's the next phase of my weight loss journey, something I'm prepared to commit to for a long time. If there's one thing I figured out this year, it's that keeping things simple is what actually works for me. When my food is simple, my mind feels calm. When my meals are predictable, the cravings go quiet. And when I'm not chasing excitement with food, I'm not constantly getting in my own way. So this is where I'm at now, starting a potato diet. Not as a stunt, not as a quick fix, but as the next step in a weight loss transformation that I'm taking very seriously. Keep it simple, keep it plain, and let the food do its job, and see how far I can take it.